This is my audience of 10 people.
Okay.
My name is Ashley Womack, and I'm in Rob Wild's speech class 1010. More frequently in the United States, we're seeing protests, marches, and riots happen. Last week, we saw white supremacists come to Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and try to start chaos in our city. Gratefully, they didn't, but they still caused chaos to businesses by having them close down, have them board up as if a hurricane was coming, and also we had to pay extra on our police force to get them to protect our city for that weekend. We have to ask ourselves when these things happen, who has America become in 2017? And we thought we were past all this after the 1960s, and how are we going to stop it, and what's making it worse in the United States? The issue of racism in the U.S. is prevalent, and we should all be knowledgeable and educated on it so that we can have discussions about how we are going to counteract it and stop it. It is important to know these things, and I am educated on this and incredible to talk about this topic because I have researched it with a non-biased opinion, and I've done necessary research to get it done. Also, I love history. I've always been fascinated with history, and history was my first choice as a college major. So racism in the U.S. has been widespread since the colonial era. What started with the Native Americans with Columbus has influenced African Americans, Native Americans, Hispanic Americans, Latino Americans, Asian Americans. We've all seen these people be discriminated against. Privileges have been granted to white Americans in the U.S. As voting, household, civil rights, segregation, discrimination, land, just different things. That's just an example of a couple that whites have been given privileges that minorities have not been. George Ferguson from Stanford University says that one ethnic group or historical dominance that seek to eliminate others on the basis of differences that he believes are hereditary and unalterable is the definition of racism. Although racist beliefs occur in the world all the time, most relevant to the U.S. is the Civil Rights Movement. The Civil Rights Movement happened in the 1960s, and it's where a group of black people got together and organized marches, speeches, and nonviolent protests to stop racial discrimination from happening in the 1960s. We're not segregated now, but we definitely see discrimination happening more often than we used to. The two main things that we're seeing happen is the Black Lives Matter movement, and what's happened from that has started the White Lives Matter movement, which the White Lives Matter movement is more of like a white supremacy, neo-Nazi, like they want one world. So it's a little bit different, but there definitely has sparked violence between the two races. On the Black Lives Matter website, it states, "We are working for a world where black lives are no longer targeted for systematically demise." And on the White Lives Matter webpage, it says, "We are white nationalists who report true diversity in a homeland for all people. Thousands of organizations promote the interests, values, and heritage of non-white minorities, and we are only promoting ours." So basically what they're saying is that the Black Lives Matter movement, everyone's been able to say that, so why are they not allowed to say the White Lives Matter? Which basically they're just going to keep blaming each other, saying that they're right or they're wrong, and it's just going to be something that keeps causing violence and chaos. Who is to blame? Will it get worse? And is it a major problem? Well, whites will continue to blame Black America, and Black America will continue to blame white America. A Pew Research Center poll on racial discrimination and is it a major factor in the U.S. said that the stats have risen 9 points to 41%, which is the highest since 1994. This proves that racial discrimination is definitely on the rise in the last decade. Well, how can we get rid of it? Well, blacks and whites' views differ on how to make the country better. According to the Washington Post, Americans say our country will continue to improve because of the changes we've made in the last couple years. Another Pew Research poll says on racial equality, 43% of blacks don't have the same rights as whites, and the country will never make a change. But it's not just the color of your skin that affects the way you view these things, also the way you were raised, because not all whites are going to support the white supremacists, and not all blacks are going to support the Black Lives Matter movement. How are we going to stop the new generation from taking on these same feelings towards other races? Well, with the rise of social media and everything that's been going on, it's easier for young generations today to have access to the videos of violence, police shootings, different things that occur on campuses, and make them more likely to have a racist opinion. And even Jennifer Rison, who is a Yale University psychologist, says the truth is, unless parents actively teach their kids not to be racist, we will be, because we are exposed to what our society teaches us. So if we're constantly exposed to that on the media, we'll be more likely to have those feelings towards others as well. A survey at Harvard University taken last year was taken of 802 African Americans, where 49% say on a day-to-day basis they are discriminated by law and individuals. In the last decade, tension is heightened. Whenever Barack Obama became president in 2008, a lot of people viewed that as a victory for America, and that we were moving towards a post-racial America. However, the exact opposite happened, and only it unleashed more racial tensions that have caused more drama between blacks and whites, which we've seen happen in the last 8 years. It is impossible to say where our country is headed. Although we're not segregated today, we have faced lots of discrimination that are similar to the 1960s. Without changes made, we're going to continue to see more acts of violence happen in our country. Acts like in Charlottesville, Virginia, where someone was killed at a white supremacist rally, or Berkeley, California, where someone was killed at a black supremacist rally. Racism will never be preventable. However, we can combat racism in ourselves, our community, and in our nation. Racism will only cease when our nation advocates affirmative action to defeat it.